Excuse me, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen. You just spilled water all over the table. I would only get hurt if I did that. All right, would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into the body of the meeting, we have something special that we want to do. Superintendent Riley.
Yes. So, would one of you like to do this? And I'm gonna
Yeah, you're supposed to do that.
I'll be selected.
You want me to read it?
I'll be this, and then you can just do it. Unless you're not. Let me turn this a little so I can see you both. Good evening, everyone. So we're really excited tonight to share the recognition for two of our employees this evening. I'm going to start with the District Support Staff Member of the Year. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the nominations happened and share just a little of what was shared about each of these folks. So all Bristol Warren Regional School District staff, students, and families were asked to nominate a support staff person for District Support Staff of the Year. Nominations were scored in 7 areas: taking on leadership roles, being student-centered, contributions to the school problem solving and offering innovative solutions, seeking learning opportunities, avoiding negativity and contributing to a positive school culture, collaboration and work with teachers, admin, and families, and then having high expectations for themselves and others. I'm going to share just a couple of the comments about this person that was shared from the nominees. They are one of the most positive people in the building. Someone else said, exceeds expectations for the requirements of their position. Another comment was always personable, enthusiastic, and willing to assist. Then goes out of their way to ask people what they need. During COVID, made us all feel safe and attended to every detail. And then, I've never seen such an upbeat, attentive, responsive, caring, and skilled worker in my 20 years in this school. And I'm just going to share just a few, just this one brief one. It's not really brief, but I will share it with you. He doesn't just mop the floors and leave the room. He takes extra care of each staff member and students alike. Today is yet another example. A student left a bunch of gym clothes here on Friday. When I came in this morning, they had folded each item neatly and left them on the desk for the student. He does this type of thing often. I have my desk far from the garbage near the door. He made me my own trash center at my desk and empties both daily. He leaves notes for staff, just nice sentiments. If you ask him for anything, he does it immediately, and he does it with a smile. These are just some of the things that were shared with us about this. So we are excited to again recognize Joe Pacheco this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we have the District Teacher of the Year. So again, all staff, students, and families were asked to nominate the District Teacher of the Year, and there are 7 areas that the selection committee scored in: taking on leadership roles, being student-centered, contributions to the school problem solving and offering innovative solutions, seeking learning opportunities, Again, contributing to a positive school culture, collaboration and work with teachers, admin, and families, and having high expectations for themselves and others. Being the district teacher of the year also has additional statewide responsibilities. So you have to serve in a leadership role for both the district and the state, representing us at the state meetings of Teachers of the Year. Participate in a senior pinning ceremony to honor students who are accepted into Rhode Island education programs, our future teachers. And then participate in the next district teacher of the year process the following year. And then share information from their state meetings and other curriculum and admin meetings with the staff here, and contribute to the blog on the Commissioner's Weekly Field Memo. And then they'll be recognized at Waterfire, which I think is in just 2 weeks. Here are some of the things we heard about this year's finalists. Always helpful in answering questions, no matter what time it is. Extremely welcoming to my daughter during her transfer. Extremely student-centered, communicative and fully transparent, has a very big heart and cares deeply for the families of her students, helps with both academic and social emotional difficulties, holds teaching children so close to her heart, able to connect with every child individually and the class as a whole, maintains a professional demeanor with high expectations. I love this one. A perfect mix of firm and warm and fuzzy. Instilled the confidence my son needed to be successful, and a strong leader with a care for every aspect of the children's well-being. I can't think of a better way to pave the way for our students. And this year, we want to congratulate our Teacher of the Year, kindergarten teacher, Ms. Kimberly Preacher. Thank you, well deserved by both.
We are truly blessed to have such wonderful people in our district.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The next thing on the agenda is public comment, and I only have one, and that's Mr. Hewitt. Mr. Hewitt, would you like to go to the, I don't see any other Mr. Hewitt
Oh,
here.
I thought you said Mr. Kudo.
Oh.
You're going to give me kudos before I speak, Marge?
No.
All right. My name is Pete Hewitt. I'm living at Wendy Drive, Bristol.
I'll time you, Mr. Hewitt.
I know you will. I only plan to speak for 30 minutes. My subject tonight is the Black Lives Matter mural. I understand that the Black Lives the Black Lives Matter mural is still up at the high school courtyard. I think that's regrettable. I assume that the Black Lives Matter mural is there because it was approved by the principal and the superintendent. I think there's a big difference between Black Lives Matter as a statement of fact and Black Lives Matter as an organization. And I hope that the decision makers on putting that mural up understand the difference. The Black Lives Matter organization is a political organization, has raised millions of dollars, and not a single dollar of the money raised has gone to support a single black family in the United States. It's a political organization, it's Marxist, and I think it's regrettable that the administration here doesn't recognize the difference and allowed the Black Lives Matter mural to be painted on the high school property. It opens up a Pandora's box because as a statement of fact, the Black Lives Matter is no more credible or noteworthy than All Lives Matter or White Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter or any other lives matter. They all matter. But as an organization, I think the Bristol Warren Regional School District made a big mistake in allowing the Black Lives Matter mural to be posted on school property. It should be taken down, it should be painted over, and I'm surprised it hasn't already been. Thank you.
Disagree. Just for the record.
Agreed then, just for the record.
That's great. Why do you have to get
Oh,
upset?
okay, it's public.
Because we don't talk at public
I don't
comment.
feel upset. I just wanted to. voice
no.
my
I
thoughts.
just made my statement.
Okay, it just sounded
All right.
upset.
Now,
Just making
time
sure.
Oh, that's just my
Okay.
voice. It's just my voice.
Okay. Oh, I'm sure that I could really.
No,
do more.
enough, please. Point of order. All right.
You have to want to meet in the middle.
The next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. And I just wanted to say, I didn't get a chance to say this, but when we're affirming a policy, it's only one reading. So we don't need to put first or second reading. One of our secretaries is finally back. We missed her. All right, so I need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move to the presentation, which is opening schools and summer projects, and I'm turning to the superintendent again.
Thank you. I think we're going to put it up on the screen there for the. You were too early. It fell asleep on you.
It's summer projects and school opening. Summer
sorry.
projects and school opening.
It's on the slide. Okay, so this is just a little update on some of the work that happened either this summer or as we go into the opening of school. So I'll start with Mount Hope High School. Some of these projects are complete, some are still a work in progress. So the cameras and control panel wiring project is complete throughout the high school. 16 of the doors have been alarmed for safety and security. We do have, I think, about 10 more that will also be done. Those will continue to happen throughout the course of the next couple of months. We have 2 emergency blue light towers. The pads are being poured for. Well, it's raining today, so it was supposed to happen tomorrow, but maybe not because of the rain. So those will be poured in the very near future, so all the blue lights can go up. But there are 2 here at the high school, one down by the football field and one a little bit closer to the school entrance. Panic buttons are in the main office, so the clerk or the principal can immediately press the panic button. It will go straight to the police, and it'll go through as an emergency 911 call. And then we have both secured the full-time SRO for the high school, but we also have a full-time school safety officer here at the high school. Next slide, please. This is just, I was trying to find some photos for you, but this was one of the things that they had highlighted for me, is that all of our control panel wiring was a little bit on the messy side, I'll say, so you can see what it looks like now. We had our professional ATG came in, which is our company who does all the cameras and wiring and has redone all the panels for us. Next slide, please. At the middle school, we also have upgraded cameras and control panel wiring. That is complete. There is an emergency solar blue light tower at the middle school. The pad will be down by the fields where the kids go out to PE, since that's pretty far. In addition to the panic buttons that are also in the office at the middle school. Next slide. At Hugh Cole, we had the upgraded cameras and control panel wiring in addition to panic buttons. At Rockwell, we have the same cameras and wiring. There are also some external door replacements. So we've done 2, but I think there are actually 10 more doors that will be replaced for safety and security purposes. And they also have panic buttons. Next slide. At Colt Andrews, again, cameras and control panel wiring, sidewalk leveling and drainage improvements. Because we have two buildings there, in order to chaperone students going across from one building to the other and to periodically walk the property when students are outside at recess and PE, we have a full-time school safety officer there also. We have also replaced some of the external doors at Colt Andrews, and they also have panic buttons. And then at Gutierrez, upgraded cameras and control panel wiring, the roof replacement, which the last step is the outer flashing. That's the last thing that isn't complete yet on the roofing. So we are waiting for, I guess, some special pewter flashing that was approved by the Historic Commission, which is on a little bit of a delay. But as soon as we have that, that will be complete. And they also have panic buttons. One of the bits of work that was not able to be completed over the summer, but will happen between now and the end of the school year, is an upgrade to all of the foyers of the buildings so that they have ballistic glass and have a safe and secure entrance. So every one of the schools will have an upgraded school entrance, including the high school, which actually has the most comprehensive work to happen. So that will probably happen over Christmas break, but we're hoping to do some of the easier ones on weekends and maybe during second shift. Yes.
Just, is it okay to ask a question as we go?
Sure.
Or do you want me to wait?
No, you can ask.
I'm just wondering, what is the difference between an SRO and an SSO in terms
So
of
an
duties?
SRO is a police officer who actually works for the police department. The SSOs are hired by us and work for us. So they may, there are two of them. They have some background in either security. They may have been a police officer at one point, or they may have been in security at some point or have some military experience. So some background in security, and they work full-time for us, hired by us, and vetted by us.
Thank you. You're welcome. Go ahead.
Anna, the panic buttons, where are they located and how do they work?
So the panic buttons are worn. They're either a bracelet or a necklace, and either the principal has it or one of the clerks have it.
So there's,
And they just press the button, and that's it. The police come.
right, but there's only one person in the building that has that, or two people?
One or two. Yeah.
So two people in each building that's got this.
Two are mobile, and then there's one at the clerk's office and one at the principal's. Yes. So
Second
just
question.
like at the bank, there's one that you just press, and then there's a wearable one.
Yeah. Second question, the 16 doors that are alarmed in safety and security, where does the alarm go off?
Right out the door, and it doesn't shut off until it's shut off by one of our folks.
So if I open this door right over here, right,
Well, not this one, the alarm's off because we're here.
the main office won't know unless somebody tells them. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. So in the evening, we can test it if you like when we go out. We can test
No,
one
that's
of
all
the
right.
doors. But if you open a door that's been alarmed, the alarm will continue to ring until it's shut off by a human.
Right, so if a cherub
Yes,
goes out some door in the back of the building
correct.
and it goes off and it's, it's in somewhere, nobody can hear it, let's say it, Dave. So
So you can hear it.
I understand. But let's say nobody's around at that time, right? Then nothing happens.
No, but it also sends an alert.
All right, here's the big question.
Mm-hmm.
The back door over here, does it have an alarm?
The kitchen door,
Well, the last door that the teachers go out of, that one.
I'd have to look at the number of the door. I have a list of the numbers of.
Because if the teacher parks in the back
Mm-hmm.
and goes out, whatever, right? And that alarm goes off,
Yeah,
it's going to be loud and whatever. And it's kind of embarrassing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that person will be identified as going up. Now, my next question is, are they allowed to go out that back door?
so the principal has spoken to the staff about which entrances and exits are supposed to be used by everyone for safety and security's sake. There may be a door in the back that's been identified for use. I don't know if there is one, but there may be one that's been identified for use by the staff. But the principal has identified for the staff which doors are to be used for safety and security purposes. And I believe there are only 2 doors that are being used, and everyone knows those are the doors you're supposed to use.
All right, next question.
Mhm.
Colt Andrews,
Yep.
you notice there's a light there that is not operating. Is it possible to get someone to get it to operate?
On the front of the building?
No, a regular traffic light.
On the
You're telling me
street
that we
itself.
have to escort kids back and forth across the street. Right now, there's a light that was working at one time. It's there. It's just not working right now.
So one of the town lights on the street?
Yeah, I guess it's a town light.
Well, I don't
It's
think
a
so.
regular traffic light, Anna. You know, like a regular traffic light. So what
Okay.
happens is, what used to happen before is they would push the button, the light would go red, the kids would cross the street, and then it would go back to green. But I don't know why it's not operating.
Okay, I'll find out. Not sure why. We do have someone crossing kids at the end of the day. And the
Yeah, I know
beginning of the day.
that. The real reason I'm asking you is because when they take down the barriers, there's still functions going on in those schools. And kids could be crossing that street and don't have anywhere to stop.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tara?
Thank you for the updates. I do have a question about the high school, the doors. Has or will there be feedback from staff with the new system? Because I know that some of the doors, there are issues with it going off and people do need to get out of the building, and then they're being identified doors that staff can leave. So I just didn't know if there was going to be any feedback from the staff to the administration to see how the system is working, you know, if what could be better, what could, you know, if there are any improvements that could be made.
So I want to be clear, the reason we're limiting entrance and exit is for safety. And you can't have multiple doors throughout the building that are used for exit. That's just not safe. So that there's a reason why we only have two, and we actually need to narrow down to one. That is what is out there as research-based. You should have one monitored entrance and exit, and that's what we need to get down to. So right now we're at two. So I don't anticipate we're going to add more doors that can be used for entrance and exit, but we will probably whittle down to the one door to be used for entrance and exit for safety and security purposes.
I'm just thinking like the shop area where the construction is taking place.
The
And
garage door?
yeah, and or even the students going out into the fenced area.
That's what we need to tighten up a little more, is the fenced-in area, so that we know when students are accessing that area, that is secured.
So that was one of my questions, especially with us expanding this program.
Yeah.
You know, some of that need to use those doors for business purposes.
Yeah,
So-
we need to tighten up the access to that whole space, which means looking at the fence, the whole enclosure. But that's on our list of things that still need some improvement.
And then my other question, so do we still have hall monitors at the high school?
What do you mean by hall monitors?
We had the
Oh, we had security techs.
security techs, sorry.
No, we do not.
Okay, so we no longer have the security techs.
Nope, we have the school safety officer and we have the SRO.
And then just on a side note, not that you mentioned KMS, the sign outside of the building is not working correctly. It's only half on. So,
There was something with the wiring. They are working on that. I think it's
Okay.
missing a part or something. But there is something with the wiring that was making that happen, but I did see some emails about fixing that sign.
Okay.
somewhere. It's on Frank's list.
it's
for
been
sure.
I've been driving by and I just keep forgetting to mention it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's been reported. It's on a list of
Thank
something to be addressed.
Anybody else? Vic has another question.
And another question.
Yep.
I agree with the alarms for all the doors in this building. It's ridiculous, the amount of doors. How about the other schools? Are we alarming the other doors in the other schools?
There are some doors that have been identified at the middle school to be alarmed, but not at any of the elementaries. We can look at that
I'm
again.
just concerned about a door left open somehow or other and somebody come in and then we know that the rest of the history of that is. In any building around.
We can take a look at that.
Yeah, I just get nervous about the potential that could happen if a door is left open.
Potentially you won't get your pizza for lunch. All right, are you finished or not?
Yes, unless anyone has any more questions.
Thank you very
I
much.
think somebody out here had a question. Brian, did you?
No, I was just,
Oh.
No, we're not taking.
He's
Oh,
tweeting,
usually
not
for a
taking questions.
workshop.
Say that at the high school, teachers only use the 2 doors.
Thank you. That's what I was told.
Using the back doors, so people are not parking back there. Thank you. We know what used to happen.
No, I think we had that conversation at our opening day of school. I mean, security is not convenient. I wish it was. It's not.
No.
But we have to be vigilant if we want to make sure our students and our faculty are safe.
Well, there are a considerable number of things that the school department has done. We just can't necessarily talk about it.
Oh, right.
We just know that we've done it, and that it compromises the safety of the children if we tell you some of the things. But where did we get the funding for all of this?
All of this was in your previous 5-year capital fund.
Thank you. Just so the people could know where,
Oh, sure. Yep.
how it's paid for. All right, moving on. The first item under discussion is approve the removal of BDD, presentations.
So moved.
Well, excuse me, could I ask if we could put them all together from A to E and just vote on one? Make a motion to eliminate all of those at one time?
A through E?
Yeah, that's what we did at the subcommittee. I mean, unless it's just get it on the table. And then-
I don't object to that.
I'll make a motion that we select, approve A through E.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
thank you.
You're welcome. F, approve policy BCA, school committee member, huh?
A to E was eliminated.
Removal.
Or removal.
First reading for removal.
One of the things that was brought to my attention is that it's, unless you sit back, which you can do, and compare policies, you don't see where the changes are. And I think that it's important that we see where the changes are for the first reading. The second reading doesn't need it, but I think the first one, it would be easier to see what you're putting in and what you're taking out. And so I would respectfully request that we start doing that for the next meeting. Please. Thank you.
Can I make a statement?
Yes.
I'd just like to make a statement about the policy book. You have to understand, if we look at the policy book, most of those policies are 1992. Now I was around for that time, not too many other people here were, but yes. And I would tell you that the problem we had was we took 2 towns' policies and tried to bring them together, all right? So there's an overlap in a lot of stuff that's here. So I have to thank Anna for deciding to go through them, each and every one. And that's why we're starting to remove some and condensing the whole policy, because some of them were there just to keep some people happy when we came together, all right? Thank you very much.
I wanted to quickly add to what Mr. Cabral said. Another reason why we're doing that is not only to streamline, but to also make it easier for family and others to find and locate these policies on our website, just to ease of discovery. And we do have a nice, awesome spreadsheet of what we're going to be reviewing policy-wise over the next how many years until we get through this? 5 years. So you're going to see lots of policy up for review over the next couple of years. We're hoping to. Currently, our policy book is, I'm not kidding, probably 5 inches tall. And it's just cumbersome and difficult to read and understand, and finding things on the website is even more difficult. So this just should make it easier and more understandable for not only members of our school district to understand, but for parents as well.
Not only that, just to remind you for the third and final time, one of the things that the superintendent has initiated is that when we review a policy, and you'll notice on our agenda, we will note at the bottom of the policy that it's been reviewed, because those policies have been reviewed over the years. It's just when they're reviewed and they don't see the need for change, they leave them there. And so that's why some of them say 1992. They're still valid today, but you wouldn't know that we had looked at them already. So this gives the public the opportunity to understand that we have reviewed all of the policies. And I think that that was a great addition, because I certainly know that I've been through that policy book at least 3 times. So, but it's not there. And it's hard to understand that sometimes when people look at it and say, what are they doing? So thanks. The next one on the agenda is,
We did not do a motion for the E, for F.
I haven't read it out yet.
Oh,
Approved policy BCA, School Committee Member Code of Ethics, first reading. And I'd like you to note that the number changed on this policy from BBF to comply with national classification standards. There is a national classification standards group that tells us how to letter all these policies, and you're supposed to be able to go to school districts and look them up by that national standards. We follow that that rule. So the policy committee has asked us to change the letters from BCA to BBF.
And there's no change to this policy. It's just, it had the incorrect label, so we just relabeled it.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next one is G, and it's being done for the same reason that we did F. Approved policy BDG, school attorney, first reading. Note that the number changed from BCG to comply with the national classification standards.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Discussion?
I do just want to let you know that this one is upgraded. The previous policy just said the school committee will have a school attorney. So Mary Ann has already created this policy for me in Portsmouth. I just made it Bristol Warren and upgraded what we had from before. So this one does have more detail to it.
My question is, I'm looking at that BDG, and still at the bottom it says adopted in 1992. It should not state that at all, right?
No, it'll be corrected.
That number will not be there.
No, it will not be there.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of policy BDA. Regular school committee meetings, first reading. Note, please, it includes the language from BDDG minutes and BDDGR minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So these are just 3 policies that were merged into one. So there's no change to BDA. We just added the language that would address BDDG and BDGR. So that instead of having 3 things, there's just.
Right, but that's fine. I'd rather have 1 policy than 3 policies. It's just that I think for purposes, like I said earlier, for purposes of the first reading, like the school attorney, you added a bunch of language.
Sure.
So I want to know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
that's been added for the first reading, and then the second reading is just pro forma, as far as I'm concerned.
And I'd like to make a statement that a knowledgeable person said that once you get to the 4th, it's not necessary to go back to 3. So we're going back to a BDA instead of all those other letters. Thank you.
Did I say it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the last one on the, wait a minute.
Were you?
Aye.
Approve removal of policies BDDG minutes and BDDGR minutes, first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. They're all merging into BDA.
So we can
You got it.
Yep, we already covered it.
done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The last thing on the agenda is the approval of the policy JIC, Code of Conduct, first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Okay, so may I?
Huh?
May I go through it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this student code of conduct policy is a major revision from the previous code of conduct policy. The previous code of conduct policy was actually not a policy, but a code of conduct, which is something that belongs in handbooks and not in policy. So policy is the basis for what we're doing with discipline in the schools. And so this policy is how we will look at discipline in the schools. And so you see the philosophy is really based around our goal in supporting students' well-being and having families as our partners. And then you see there's an entire section on how we ask families to be our partners in support of behavior management. On page 2, you see the district-wide behavior management. So when students engage in inappropriate behaviors, clear procedures are needed to provide consistent feedback and support. All of this is built so that discipline and conversations with students are progressive in nature, and that we take into account things like the student's age, the nature of the offense, and the circumstances that led to the offense, prior disciplinary record, effectiveness of other forms of discipline, information from parents, teachers, and others, and any other extenuating circumstances. To me, that section is the biggest difference from our previous code of conduct to our current policy recommendation, which is not a code of conduct. It's a policy about code of conduct. And so the idea is that instead of having a one response per offense, it's taking into consideration that that offense looks different depending on the child's age, the circumstances, the nature of the student's history, and all of the things I just listed for you. And then is really tied to our multi-tiered systems of support initiative, which we are building in the schools. And you can see on that last page, and this is not our final one because we changed what this was called. And I apologize, there's an edit on that last page that really talks about what we have to do in terms of proactively building healthy relationships with students and provide a sense of community. Really thinking about what happened, what students were thinking at the time, how it impacted others, how it impacted their own actions, how it made them feel, how they're going to make it right, what things will keep it right, and how can we support the student. So it's really a policy that says how we're going to look at discipline.
I understand what you're saying,
Okay.
and I don't disagree with you. But I also know, and I said this the last time we looked at this policy, and I asked to send it back to the policy committee. There are consequences for behaviors, and in this policy, there is nothing. There is just restorative justice, and we'll talk to the students. And we were there before. And not all students were treated equally. They just weren't. Some got suspended, some didn't. Some, they took in, it just, the whole gamut. And that's why we got so specific when the last superintendent was here, because we needed to stop, well, if you get lucky, that teacher will find you and you won't get in trouble. But if that teacher finds you, you're in trouble. So we got rid of that. And now it seems to me as if we've gone right back to where we were before. And I really believe that one of the problems that we have is that a lot of discipline has to happen in the classroom, and a lot of teachers have to really work hard with their students and build all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if I show up for school and I have marijuana in my pocket, I should be getting the same punishment as Joe Scott, who's sitting next to me, who has marijuana in his pocket. Maybe I've only been caught once, and he's been caught 3 times, but I'm not supposed to have marijuana in my pocket. So I think that I can't vote for this until I see consequences, because if we don't teach children about consequences, what happens when they get to be adults? Now, they don't have to be so punitive. They don't have to be 10 days, just no questions asked. You talk about the child in elementary school who brings his Boy Scout knife into school. He's not coming in to hurt anybody. He wants to show it. All right, you look at that. You take care of that. But there are a lot of things going on that are criminal. And I need to make sure that all of the students, all of the time, are being treated as fairly as possible. And I don't see it happening here unless we have a list of things that are guaranteed. So as my example I used to you, that's kind of funny. That's why we're going back and forth. I said, if I'm speeding, then I'm willing to take the consequence of getting a ticket if I get caught. I know what the consequence is. And then your comment was, yeah, but if you get a really nice officer, he won't give you a ticket. Well, that's fine, but what if Vic's right behind me and he's speeding and the second officer gives him a ticket, but I didn't get one? That's a real red flag for me in terms of fairness. And so I need to see more, even if it's an example. I can't do this policy until I see what the consequences are.
If I may, and I'm going to ask Attorney Carroll to chime in here, it is not the duty of the school committee to met out discipline. That's why this is a policy about how we approach discipline. The principals are responsible for school discipline.
Okay, so one of the issues I see tonight is we need to make a comparison of the old policy, because I couldn't find it today, and I don't think.
I emailed it to you just
All right,
probably
so
around 3 o'clock.
I need to look at the old policy and the new policy. And we need to then see with the superintendent, the policies may not be that much different. It's the consequences that then go in the handbook, when you approve the handbook. But I couldn't, if you sent it to me and it was late in the day and I was already on my way, I think we need to look at the old policy, see what the changes are, so that you see the difference, and then we'll talk about what the consequences are that will be put in a handbook that they would absolutely approve.
Right.
So I think that's what we need to look at. We shared conversations today, Chairman McBride. I contacted the superintendent after I spoke to you. I tried to find the policy online. I didn't see it. But then there was the different numbering, I think, Anna, because when I got the email, it was a different number. I'd like you to table this tonight.
Wait. Let's have a discussion before we start tabling. And I'd like to continue discussing before we table.
All right, so I think we need to look at, I think that's what we need to do, because I don't know what was changed.
All right, well, Mrs. Reach, we can't table without a majority of people wanting to table something, so that wasn't going to happen anyway, so.
Understood.
Just-
Understood. I just don't want our attorney making decisions for us without us all participating in
Well,
that.
She's not going to. I don't think that's
The only
appropriate.
reason I chimed in is because the superintendent asked my.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd rather that, the only reason I said table, it's better that it gets tabled than it goes down, because at least then we go back and review it.
I just want to chime in too. Thank you.
Sure.
I think we're back to a kind of a philosophical difference about how we're supposed to take care of our kids. I actually think this is great. And at the time we reacted to discipline problems at KMS, I feel like appropriately. We were having a hard time. We needed parameters. Maybe leadership wasn't on board. This was a totally different time for our district with totally different kids. We reacted appropriately. We changed the code of conduct, but now I think it's time to change it back. I think that like many other things in education, we can't just make a decision about things like code of conduct and leave it untouched and expect it to apply appropriately to all of our kids. I understand the desire for fairness. However, I also think this is kind of an equity issue. I mean, if you've got one kid in elementary school that's caught with marijuana, that's going to look completely different than a kid at the middle school that's caught with marijuana versus a kid at the high school that's caught with marijuana. So I don't think we can make blanket statements about how we're going to respond to those based on the different students, their background. I also think it's completely fair and appropriate to give the autonomy and decision-making to our principals. They know their teachers, they know their students, they know the circumstances, and I think being able to react in the moment to appropriate consequences is where we need to be leading. It looks at the entirety of the student, whether that kid showed up with marijuana in his pocket, but also hungry. I mean, these are all things that building principals know what's going on, and I don't think we need to be looking at matrices and big, long lists anymore about how we take care of our kids. I think post-COVID, this is the most inclusive, sensitive, and really kind of community encompassing decision that we can make, because we're also taking into consideration what's going on at home. So this is the more kind of well-rounded, student-centered approach, and I think it's completely appropriate, and I absolutely support it.
Thank you. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to ask Mary Ann, I mean, we could table this, is that correct? And then and then discuss it afterwards, right?
Yes.
Or we take a vote,
Yes,
and suppose it's voted down, what happens then?
and the old policy's in effect.
We keep the old policy.
We already have that one in abeyance on another vote.
It's hard for me to
So we
hear.
would have no policy.
Can you
We
repeat
don't
that?
currently have a policy right now. The
Yes, we
committee
do.
agreed to remove the last policy and hold it in abeyance until I provided you with a new policy.
But in abeyance means it goes back into effect if we don't have a new one.
You have to vote it back into effect.
I see you, Nikki. Hang on a second.
My recommendation is table this and we go back and look at it.
Nikki?
I'm sorry, I've been sitting here sort of struggling with this because I agree with Mrs. McBride that we have run into trouble before where the consequence is decided by a personal relationship or otherwise between the educator and the student. And that has been, we've had issues with that for sure, where there is a different consequence depending on the kid. However, I also have faith in what the superintendent is saying, that will be covered by not the code of conduct policy, but the code of conduct itself. And that will look different for each school, back to what Mrs. Reich was saying, depending on the appropriate consequence for the age of the child. So I think that both of you are actually saying the same thing. And I think with the two documents alongside each other, the policy along with the code of conduct for each level, I think we're covering what both of you want to cover and what the superintendent wants to cover. I think we're getting hung up on this because we're looking at this document in isolation, because I completely hear what you're saying and I agree. We need to get away from that, each individual making up their own consequences. But I don't believe that that's what the superintendent is suggesting. She's saying that the principals will issue separate code of conducts depending on their building. And again, we have to have faith in the leaders that we put in our buildings to take advice from their educators and to consult with their educators to take advice and come up with a code of conduct that is perfectly appropriate for the kids in that building, right? And that's why to put those consequences that you're saying, and again, I agree, in the policy is dangerous because it doesn't allow for that individual building sort of customization of those consequences. I think what both of you are saying is spot on, and I think we can achieve both through the two different documents.
I don't disagree with you. And we used to have a handbook for each school. And the principal and the teachers in that school created the handbook, which also gave guidance on discipline and all kinds of other things that go on in their particular school. So what we ended up with was 5 different handbook policies. And so then there was a push to bring them together so that there was some equality or equity, however you want to use it, between schools. And I think we have.
So what do you think about
I think that we've gone too far. I think that we can put down what consequences are. But I think that principals have, like you said, have the right to say, all right, a 6-year-old, like I said, brings in his new Cub Scout knife, or a 16-year-old brings in a switchblade. There's a difference there. And the consequence that says brings a knife to school is very far reaching and has many more consequences than what's happening. So I'd like to see it put together. And so I would like to see what Mary Ann suggested to table, to put together that code to go as an example. Because if I'm a parent, where am I going to look? I'm supposed to be able to look in the policy book and find out what the policies are. You sign the handbook. Parents are supposed to sign the handbook, but not all of them do.
We didn't.
And we haven't seen those handbooks in a very long time. I see you.
I just wanted to finish up. What I was going to say was, I think if the superintendent provided us some clarity on, because you were saying that, you know,
Fine. The middle school, for example, has a whole code of conduct in their handbook. I'll just bring those pages from the handbook.
So there will be a separate code of conduct for each.
Correct. This is I'm just trying to make the distinction between policy and the code of
But the
conduct.
chair seems concerned that there'll be only one code of conduct for all schools, but you're saying that's.
There will not be, right?
No,
It'll
but
look
I'm
different.
concerned that they aren't at least an example in the policy book. So I'm brand new to Bristol Warren, or I'm not brand new, but for some reason I have to go look at the policy book. And this is all the policy book says about
Right.
discipline. And I want to know why my child is being suspended for 10 days.
But they would go to the handbook for that, not the policy.
But I haven't seen the handbook.
But there's also other, can I go?
Yeah, I know Erin had her hand up.
So I just have two things to say. One is that I think that we're talking about two separate things. Like, from where I'm coming from tonight, I feel like there's no reason we shouldn't discuss this policy. And the code of conduct is like a separate piece. This is just, as Superintendent Riley said, a policy about the code of conduct. So whatever comes next, we would obviously be brought here, and we would discuss that as well.
I'd like to
I'm
see that
guessing.
first.
But
That's
I
what it's
don't
about.
think, I don't think a policy about how we feel about what's in here can't be discussed tonight, because we may not necessarily have the entire code of conduct before us.
I agree, Erin.
And the other, I forgot my other thought, but I'll. when I
No,
get it,
my thing is at the last meeting, when I asked that it go back, I asked for that, and now it's back again, and it isn't here. And so I'm just reflecting on what I said at the last meeting, which is I would like to see this is called the code of conduct, so I'd like to see the codes of conduct for all of the schools before I'm willing, and understand that they mesh with this, before I'm willing to go forward.
Yeah, I understand that. I thought of the other thing I was going to say.
Go ahead.
The other things you were talking about with, how you'd like to see the specific code of conduct because it would list the different offenses and consequences. We do, again, I agree with Superintendent Riley that the policy part and the school committee oversight part is about the policy about the thing. So like we have policies on weapons that you can't bring to school. We have policies on the things that you can't do to your Chromebooks in or out of school. Like you know what I mean? Like we have all of those policies, and I think, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm kind
no,
of
you make a point.
differentiating between the policy and then what Superintendent Riley is talking about in that nitty-gritty stuff.
I'm just looking for something that's comprehensive enough that we can live
Just
with that.
sounds like we're not going to be able to have a comprehensive thing if we attend to this particular policy.
I don't think it is, but Vic has something. And then
I'd like to have the policy we have right now before this in front of me. I don't have that. Okay.
Can you?
So that would help me
Can
to
you
make
talk
my
louder?
Can
decision.
you talk louder? It's
Or
really
talk
hard
to
over here. Talk into.
Hello, anybody hear me? Okay.
It's air controllers behind us.
All right, so I'd like to have that policy here. I don't want to take a vote right now, as some people here want to do, because I'm afraid that it's going to go down in flames, okay? And then where do we go from there? So I want to take Mary Ann's point and say, okay, let's table it. Let's come to a meeting, whatever, have the two policies that we have, and then make a decision from there. But right now, in my opinion, just as I see it, this is going to be voted down, okay? And I don't want that to happen. So-
Can we discuss why? Only because I don't, when you say that, I think that's a great point, but I don't, like, since we haven't had any discussion about the papers in front of us, I don't know who here agrees with what or disagrees with what. Do you know what I mean?
I don't,
No, but all right, I'll tell you, okay? I only have 2 more months left, all right? So we know what the situation is. You three vote
I
that.
don't know.
I do, I'm going to tell you.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
you three vote one
I
way,
just don't
and
know
these
why it
four
turned
vote
so
another way.
aggressive.
All right?
I
That's the way
literally
it
was
goes.
just asking, we didn't, no, but if it's on the agenda to discuss the policy, all I'm asking is why aren't we just, even if we don't vote tonight, like, when you say it's gonna go down in flames, you're afraid and you don't want that to happen, I just don't know what you mean, and I'm saying that
You don't know
sincerely.
what I mean.
I have no idea.
How long have you been on this committee? The vote goes this way, and the vote goes that way. That's the way it goes.
Okay, I think I can move
I'm
us
just- I'm just-
along. We'll just change this to add the, I will bring back the handbook codes of conduct so you can see, and maybe it's just adding a line to the policy that says, please refer to handbooks for specific discipline infractions or something. But I can bring those codes of conduct from the handbooks, and then we'll add a line that says, refer to the handbooks for specifics on code of conduct. Because again, I want to draw the distinction, this is policy, and then the actual discipline infractions and all of that will be in handbooks. And again, it's going to look different from elementary to middle to high school. They won't look the same. So we can bring that, we don't need to bring that to policy, right, Mary Ann? I can just bring it to the next committee.
You want to go back to policy?
I don't need it to, I can
So
just,
we'll just bring it here, we're gonna put a couple of sentences into this policy to say refer to handbooks.
and bring the
And
samples.
Show the handbooks with the specific disciplinary infractions.
That's fine.
I
Yep.
think that will answer your question, Shannon.
Kara.
Yes.
May
I have a question.
Go,
Yes.
please go ahead and then I'll.
All right, so I actually have a question on the policy.
Okay, perfect.
And my question is, one, I know that this was part of a discussion that we've had for a long while and that we asked you to look at this.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you were going to do is set up a discipline committee in the district with administration and with the people that are investors to come up with this.
That's what
So
we did to
that's
come
what you
up with
did.
this.
Okay, that was my first
Yes.
question. My second question is, I also agree with Nikki that I feel that it's premature because I feel that I didn't have the other policy in front of me. And so I don't know what to compare it to. And so, one, I'm going to take onus for that because I do have the ability to go and get that policy and look at it. So that is on me. But that still being said, I did not do that. And so I don't know what I'm comparing it to. So the other thing is I understand completely about the policy piece of it and that this is just the philosophy. This is not the meats and the bone. But I didn't agree with what Nikki said about each elementary school having different expectations. I'm more of if I have no problem with the 3 levels having different expectations for the same offense, but I
They
am
work
not.
collaboratively. Their handbooks are
Okay.
almost mirror images
Okay,
of
because I'm
each
not
other.
for each, building having a different set of groundwork or expectations, because I think that sets up it sets up kids to fail. But on that note, one thing that I did when I looked through this was the family partnership and support for behavior management was very specific in the sense that it was clearly identified and the expectations were clearly identified. But then when you went to the expectations of the students, I found that that was not as specific. And that was like, as a parent, I'm to send my child to school to be ready to participate and to learn. But but we weren't that specific with the kids. Like, to me, the code of conduct is especially at the high school level and the middle school level, should be more onus on the child's, what our clear expectations are for them. You need to be in the classroom. You need, I agree. I don't think that disciplinary actions should be in this policy, but I do think that the expectation should be clearer for what we expect from the kids. Because we're specific with the parents. You are to review the rules and the regulations with your child. You're to promote a safe, orderly environment. You need to inform the school officials when there are changes at home. Provide a place for study and homework completion. But all we have for the kids is, students are taught and encouraged to practice our core values and beliefs. We teach expectations and appropriate behaviors, utilizing the same practices as used to teach academics, including direct instruction, modeling, guided practice, progress monitoring, and acknowledgement of positive behaviors. I just think that could be more clearly defined.
Yep, it's just it's a breadth from 5 to 12, so that's trying to.
I'm not saying that.
Nope, we can work on it.
I'm not saying that I disagree. I understand your thought process in this, but as a parent who has many different children who handle discipline many different ways, I understand what you're saying, where you're going to look at one child and you're going to say, well, this is out of character for you. But I also know that in my house there are certain rules and there are certain expectations that they know.
Yep.
And that's how you can make the step to say, that's how you can kind of read between the lines in other circumstances.
No, and I think you'll find that in the specific.
Yeah,
codes of
and
conduct.
that's my other, and
Yep.
Carly, that was my other piece. I would have liked to have had at least the backup data to say, okay, yep, you're right. This is the philosophy, and here's the meat and bones. Because to be honest with you, I didn't even see the KMS code of conduct or the high school one. So maybe that's my fault as well. But I know we didn't. Back in the day, everybody came home with lots of papers and everything. Now nobody comes home with anything, and I'm really bad at going online and looking for those things.
That's okay. I do the same thing with my own kids. Even though I do this for a living, I still am bad at remembering to look at all those emails.
Yes, so that's my only thing is I don't have a problem with the policy. I would just like
See the other ones.
I would like to see a little bit more clarity.
Nope, that's what we'll do for the next time. We will bring the handbook examples and we'll add a reference to the handbooks in this policy for the next time.
I had one other quick request, because I was going to ask a piece of historical information, but I don't think there's anybody at the table that can answer that. I was just wondering, how often do most schools kind of change the wording and reevaluate their handbooks? I mean, I'm
Every
assuming
year.
it
They
should
usually
be
have
every
to do an
year.
Annual review.
Okay.
And they should come before the school committee in June in preparation for printing over the summer, or we don't print them anymore, but to get them ready for the school year. So we will make sure that happens.
They used to be in the agendas.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They used to be in the agendas.
I remember the high school one particularly,
Mhm.
and it came when the program of studies came.
I'm
It came
just,
together.
Yeah, we'll
And-
make sure that we get all the handbooks again.
But that
in the
came
spring.
through policy.
yes. Okay, I just was wanting to make sure that we take that
Sure.
into the equation.
All right.
I just wanted to clarify, we're not, because I'm a pedant, we're not tabling, we're postponing, right?
Doesn't matter, same thing.
Well, tabling means that we're postponing with no clear plan to come back to it.
You're tabling it and then stating it's gonna come back.
We're
To the
postponing.
next meeting.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It may just be a simple sentence to refer to student handbook.
And the examples from the handbook so folks can see it. Yeah,
Under your section that says district wide behavior management.
you got it.
Okay, so conduct. I need a motion.
I motion to table.
Second.
I would like you to amend that to say the next business meeting of the school committee, if you don't mind.
I make a motion to table policy JIC, Code of Conduct, for the next business school committee meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I need a
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.